The Ravens are walking into Week 6 with more questions than answers, and it all starts up front. The offensive line has been nothing short of a liability so far this season. Even with Ronnie Stanley back to full participation in practice, there's no guarantee he'll return to form. Let's be honest, even when he's been healthy, Stanley hasn't looked like the dominant left tackle he used to be. And when you add in the instability at guard, the lack of push in the run game, and the absence of a consistent anchor in the middle, it's clear this line is in trouble. They're not just underperforming, they're flat out getting bullied. And that's not something you can afford when you're starting your backup quarterback and trying to lean on a run game that hasn't clicked all year. The Rams' defense is going to test every weak spot in that line. Byron Young already has 5.5 sacks through 5 games and looks like a legitimate force off the edge. But it's not just him. Guys like Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk bring relentless effort and interior pressure. The Rams don't need to send extra guys to cause chaos. They can rush for and still collapse the pocket. That's what makes them so dangerous. If Cooper Rush can't handle that pressure or get the ball out quickly, it's going to be a long afternoon. And when you factor in how poorly the Ravens have executed on first down, constantly putting themselves in second and long and third and impossible situations, it becomes even more obvious that the offense needs a drastic shift in approach. Todd Monken has talked about needing to be better on first downs, and that's not just coach speak. It's critical. This offense can't function if it's constantly behind the sticks. Maybe that means opening drives with short passes instead of predictable inside runs. Maybe it means more designed rollouts, more screens, more tempo. Whatever it is, the Ravens have to figure it out fast. Because if they go 3 and out over and over like they did last week, the defense is going to get worn down again. And let's be real, they can't afford that either. Speaking of the defense, they've got issues of their own. Pressure on the quarterback has been nearly non-existent. Right now, Baltimore ranks 29th in the league in pressure rate. That's bottom of the barrel. Only the Jets, Panthers, and somehow the 49ers are worse in that category. When your defense can't get home with 4, and your blitzes aren't landing either, it puts the entire secondary in a bind. You end up playing soft zone, giving up easy throws, and letting teams march down the field. And that's exactly what's been happening. The trade of Odafe Oweh was a wake-up call. He wasn't producing, and the Ravens decided to move on. But that leaves a void on the edge that someone has to fill. We're going to see a rotation now. More snaps for Tavius Robinson, more pressure on Kyle Van Noy to step up, and possibly even a larger role for rookie Adissa Isaac once he's back in game shape. But one name to really watch is Trenton Simpson. At Clemson, he was known for his versatility. He could line up at inside linebacker, but he also flashed as a pass rusher off the edge. With the Ravens thin at outside linebacker, don't be surprised if they experiment and start using Simpson in those spots. They need speed. They need disruption. Simpson can bring both. Another name that just got thrown into the mix is Alohi Gilman, the safety acquired in the Oweh trade. He's not a superstar, but he brings experience, instincts, and aggression. That's something the Ravens' secondary desperately needs right now. Too often this year, the safeties have been out of position or too deep to impact the play. Gilman is more of a box safety, someone who likes to get in close, be physical, and react quickly. That could free up Kyle Hamilton to do more in coverage or even blitz from different angles. And if C.J. Gardner-Johnson also gets activated, then suddenly the Ravens have some new pieces to work with in that back end. They're not perfect, but they bring a different energy, and that might be exactly what this defense needs. But of course, it all comes down to execution. It doesn't matter how many names you shuffle in or how many different packages you draw up if the communication on the field is still broken. That's been one of the biggest issues plaguing this team for over a year now. Defenders not trusting each other, not understanding where their help is, and playing disconnected football. You see corners giving up too much space, playing like they've got deep help when they don't. Safeties reacting late or biting on fakes. It's not just talent, it's cohesion. And with all the new faces in the building, that's going to be the toughest thing to fix mid-season. That's why Sunday's matchup against the Rams is more than just another game. This feels like a tipping point. Lose again, and you're staring down the barrel of a 1-6 record going into the bye week. That's almost impossible to recover from in a conference this competitive. Win, and you might just keep the season alive long enough to get Lamar healthy and regroup. But it's not going to be easy. Not when Matthew Stafford is waiting on the other side, and this Rams offense knows how to take advantage of defensive breakdowns. The Ravens have to make Stafford uncomfortable. That's the bottom line. If they let him sit in the pocket, he'll pick them apart. He's too experienced, too accurate, and too smart to be given time. So whether that's dialing up exotic blitzes, sending safeties off the edge, or finally getting something from the front four, they need to find ways to generate pressure. Because if they don't, Stafford's going to find Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, or whoever else he wants, and it's going to get ugly fast. And look, the Ravens offense has to help out too. Last week against the Texans, they ran just 40 plays. That's absurd. That's not even close to enough to stay competitive in a modern NFL game. They've got to control the clock, sustain drives, and give their defense time to breathe. That starts with better execution on early downs. It starts with smarter play calling. And it starts with finding some kind of rhythm, something they haven't had since week 1. At this point, no one's expecting perfection. This is about survival. It's about clawing your way out of a hole and giving yourself a chance to fight another day. The Ravens don't need to blow out the Rams. They just need to win. Ugly, dirty, whatever it takes. And they need guys like C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Alohi Gilman to bring the fire. They need Kyle Hamilton to play like a star. They need Derrick Henry to break a tackle or two. And they need Cooper Rush. Yes, Cooper Rush, to protect the football and make just enough throws to keep the chains moving. The margin for error is gone. There's no more room for moral victories or almost had it moments. This is the time where you either dig deep and find something, or the season slips away completely. Week 6 against the Rams might not sound like a playoff game, but for the Ravens, it might as well be. C.J. Gardner-Johnson just got to Baltimore, and he's already shaking things up. The man hasn't even suited up for a full game yet, and his name is already all over the headlines. Not because of a big play, but because of what he said. In classic CJ fashion, he kept it brutally honest. He signed with the Ravens because it was his only option. That's right. No sugarcoating, no fluff. Just straight-up reality. And while some people took that as a red flag, as if he didn't actually want to be here, it might just be exactly what this team needs right now. This isn't a player trying to charm anyone. This is a guy who speaks his truth and plays with fire, on and off the field. Now, for those who aren't used to CJ's personality, buckle up. This is what you're getting. Unfiltered, intense, emotional, and passionate. He's not here to win a popularity contest. He's here to hit, talk, and lead. And the Ravens, who are sitting at 1 win and 5 losses, need that kind of presence. With Roquan Smith sidelined and nobody really stepping up to take that vocal leadership role on defense, a guy like CJ could be the exact jolt this locker room has been missing. Sometimes a desperate team and a desperate player end up being the perfect match. The Ravens need toughness. CJ needs a shot. There's potential here. And the word from inside the building is that CJ's already making noise in a good way. He's been active in the locker room, bonding with teammates, and making solid first impressions. So, while that quote, "It was my only option," might sound cold or detached to some, the truth is it reflects a situation both sides found themselves in. Baltimore needed experience. CJ needed a landing spot. Now he's here, rocking number 6 and bringing a presence the Ravens didn't have last week, especially during that embarrassing beatdown by the Houston Texans. 44-10, and it didn't even feel that close. Yeah, the Texans were clowning the Ravens all game long, even in the behind-the-scenes stuff. And honestly, the Ravens earned that. They played soft, flat, uninspired football. The defense looked lost, communication breakdowns everywhere. Safeties were playing 35 yards off the line of scrimmage. Cornerbacks weren't trusting their help. Players looked confused about leverage, coverage, positioning, all of it. And that's the kind of stuff that kills you against any offense, let alone a team like Houston that came ready to punch Baltimore in the mouth. So C.J. Gardner-Johnson might not fix everything, but he brings something the Ravens are missing: edge, grit, tenacity. Maybe he gets guys fired up with a hit. Maybe he sets the tone in the locker room. Maybe he even becomes that missing spark the secondary needs. Let's not forget, this is a guy who had 6 interceptions last year. He knows how to make plays. He knows how to lead. And if nothing else, he's not afraid to speak up, call guys out, and stir the pot when the team needs it. Baltimore doesn't have many guys like that right now. Of course, all this drama is happening with a huge game on the horizon, Week 6 against the Los Angeles Rams. And to make matters worse, Lamar Jackson might not be playing. That's the last thing this team needs. The latest reports say Lamar hasn't practiced because of a hamstring issue, and the expectation is that he'll sit this one out and return after the bye. That means Cooper Rush is getting the start. And that's concerning, not just for Ravens fans, but also for Jared Verse, the Rams pass rusher, who basically begged Lamar to play this weekend. The man straight up said he'd be pissed if Lamar doesn't suit up because he's on his sack bucket list, right next to Mahomes and Josh Allen. Verse wants the challenge. He wants that highlight. And hey, respect to him for wanting to go up against the best. But reality check. Lamar's not playing, and honestly, with how much Verse wants to get a shot at him, maybe that's for the best. Now, Cooper Rush isn't a bad quarterback, but let's be real. He's not Lamar. And that's the problem. His skill set just doesn't mesh with what this offense was built to do. You could see it in the Texans game. Once the offensive line started collapsing, Rush had no escape plan. That's where Lamar usually pulls off something magical. Rush, on the other hand, just gets swallowed. And you've got to ask the question, why did the Ravens go out and pay a backup who doesn't even resemble the starting quarterback in style? Tyler Huntley might not be a world beater, but he fits the system better. There's talk that he might get some snaps this week in special packages, especially on short yardage downs where he can run and give the defense something different to look at. But don't expect him to take over. It's still going to be Rush's show. And that's a scary thought, especially when you look at what the Rams are bringing. This is a defense that ranks in the top 10 against both the run and the pass. They're physical, disciplined, and they don't need to blitz to create pressure. They can get to the quarterback with just 4 guys, which lets them drop more defenders into coverage. That's a nightmare for a Ravens offensive line that has been leaking from every angle. Even with Ronnie Stanley back, this group hasn't shown they can handle a front like the Rams. Derrick Henry, who was brought in to be the focal point of this run game, hasn't been able to get going either. Teams are keying in on him. Even when Lamar was out there, defenses still stacked the box, and Henry hasn't had the room to operate. So what happens now, with Cooper Rush under center and no threat of a QB run? It's going to be even tougher. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. In what could be the most sensational move of the NFL offseason, whispers are circulating that the Baltimore Ravens have just flipped the script in a way nobody saw coming. The team is reportedly closing in on a deal to sign superstar wide receiver Justin Jefferson. The news, still unconfirmed by official sources, has already sent shockwaves through the league and sparked feverish debates among fans, analysts, and rivals alike. Jefferson, widely regarded as one of the most electrifying talents in the NFL today, has been at the center of trade rumors for months, but few expected the Ravens to be the team making a blockbuster move of this magnitude. Baltimore, known for its methodical approach to roster building, seems poised to rewrite its offensive blueprint with a receiver whose speed, agility, and playmaking ability could transform their passing game overnight. Sources close to the situation describe the negotiations as intense and fast-moving, with the possibility of a deal being finalized sooner than anyone anticipated. While contract details remain under wraps, the mere idea of Jefferson lining up alongside Lamar Jackson has sent social media into a frenzy. Fans are already imagining deep sideline passes, highlight reel touchdowns, and a Ravens offense that could dominate the league in ways few teams can match. The potential impact on the AFC North cannot be overstated. The Bengals, Steelers, and Browns suddenly have a new benchmark to chase, as Jefferson's arrival would give Baltimore a weapon that rivals can barely hope to contain. Meanwhile, NFL insiders are speculating how this move could influence the free agency market, shaking up negotiations across the board. As the rumor mill spins faster than ever, one thing is clear. If Jefferson does indeed join the Ravens, the NFL landscape is about to change dramatically. Fans and pundits alike are watching every tweet, every press conference, and every cryptic Instagram post, hoping for confirmation. Until then, the mere possibility of Justin Jefferson in purple and black is enough to keep the football world buzzing with excitement. The Ravens, it seems, are ready to make a statement. And if this rumor proves true, the offseason just became a whole lot more electrifying. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.